Welcome to A-Level D&T Fashion and Textiles, and also Product Design A-Level question and answer session. So myself, I am Miss Garden. I'm the head of faculty, but also teach the A-Level D&T subjects. My background is mostly textiles, but I've also got ample experience of teaching A-Level product design. I am one of the teachers, but we don't know who the Year 12 teachers will be next year, as we've got a wide variety of capable and experienced A-level teachers. It could be Mr. Haddock, it could be Miss Beer, it could be Miss Oddie, answering questions about their experience on the A-level. Dilshad's been studying the A-level product design, and he did GCSE. Finton joined us to take A-level DT fashion and textiles, but he hadn't studied the GCSE. And that's unusual, but he was able to provide a portfolio and came to some sessions to convince us that he was ready and has proven to be able to make that jump. So whilst we don't recommend it, it is possible, and Finton's a good example of that. So they will answer from their experience. I will add a little bit as needed, but we won't be going through the specific details in this session. That is on the programme, and I encourage you to read the sixth form programme. And also you'll find more information from the three of us in the generic faculty video, where we've got images of things that have been made, and a video within the workshops at school, which you might find more interesting. Okay, so I'm going to start then with why did you choose to study this subject? Dilshad, would you like to kick off with that?
So I had two main reasons to why I joined and did product design. Actually, three now, thinking about it. First one would be, obviously, this is a cliche that it's one of my favorite subjects, seeing as, and this is onto my second one, which is that it's unlike majority of subjects where you're just given information about what you have to study this year and just go through it, learn it, and then get tested by it. This is more of an A-level where you choose what you do and you decide what decisions to make and what you learn from it. And there's a lot more, you feel more independent with this subject than you do with other subjects, and that's why I like about it. And also because it gives me a life skill and helps me with my university application for what I want to do. And that's my reason.
Thank you.
I chose textiles because I was interested in attaining sort of more practical skills to do with fashion, which I felt I needed because of my prior experience in industry, and also because I was interested in studying more of a coursework subject alongside my examination subjects in English.
That's wonderful, sorry. And did you want to add anything more about how they complement each other?
What, my subjects?
Yeah.
Well, I chose my subjects sort of all together as skills that I wanted to use in industry, which was photography, textiles, and English, just because those were the main skills that I found I was using the most in my part-time job, and that I kind of wanted to develop as a showcase and develop a portfolio in order to enter industry straight out of A-levels.
Fantastic, thank you very much. So to the next question. Dilshad, you'll need to answer this. Finton will maybe change the question for you slightly, but Dilshad, how different from GCSE is A-level?
It's not much of a jump at first, but then when you get into it, you notice the difference a lot more. I think the main things that you'll notice are you have a lot more support than you do during GCSE, because during GCSE you had a lot more students in your class, as often it wasn't really a subject that everyone was really entitled to do. So you end up doing it and you couldn't really ask teachers for much because they'd always have to support more. But when it came to A-levels, classes will obviously be smaller and the teachers how the teachers teach you and what they do for you is more tailored towards what you need for your A levels, which does benefit you a lot. But always remember, it's because there is a jump of difficulty from GCSE, but it's not one that makes it not enjoyable. It's one that gives you a better understanding of the subject.
Thank you. Quinton, I think if we just think about how does it compare to your expectations is really the question for you.
To be honest, I didn't have many expectations immediately joining the class, but I was very pleased, particularly with the amount of attention that you kind of receive, as Dilshad touched on, because there are so many teachers in the department with a wide range of skills. And I think you'll always find that you're able to get one-to-one help whenever you need it. I think that was the main thing I was happy about.
And just related to that, and it leads to the next question, which is describe a typical lesson. I just want to remind everybody who's watching this that usually and highly likely is that we will teach fashion and textiles and product design at the same time, and you'll join together in the same lessons because of the numbers that we usually receive in the applicants. And I just wanted to know how that's been for you, Dilshad, in that you have your lessons with Finton, who's doing a different A level.
Well, at first you think, why am I in the class with someone that's doing a totally different subject? But then once you get down to it and then understand what the A level requires for you to do, you end up realizing there isn't much of a difference. So if you chose product design or textiles, you'd be following the same sort of format. It's just the skills and what's required of you is different. So it's okay, because the things you'll need support on, is stuff that both sides will most likely need support on. So for example, anything that textile might have an issue with will quite often be an issue that comes up with product design if you ask a teacher. So you think that you'll be getting half the amount of attention or the stuff you need, because they'd have to teach the other half to the other class. But in the case of, I'd say probably 75% of what they teach to textiles could also come up with product design and be really helpful for you. So always make sure to listen out to what they say for textiles as well.
Did you want to add anything there?
No, I think that covers it.
Yeah.
I think there's always sort of a split when there needs to be one for differing knowledge, and then occasionally you do have sort of a cross in what knowledge both teams need.
And we do have some lessons where we have two teachers, a product design focus and a textiles focus, and actually sometimes we split you separately to the subject specific, don't we? So just depending on where you are with your work, you might get mixed up with Dilshad, whereas we'll take another couple of students off and focus on them. So yes, I feel that it works okay, given that we have those subjects where we can split you into two groups again occasionally. So the next question is very linked. Describe a typical lesson. How are the lessons?
Should I go first?
Okay.
Well, walk in. I mean, it's dependent on the student. So for me, I usually walk in with quite a charismatic entrance. But with most students, you just walk in, get settled down, and you just have the relaxation, because in normal lessons you end up walking in, sit down, bags down, DNA. But it feels a lot more calm than when you have our typical lessons with other subjects. You get to, it's almost like you're doing it in college, weirdly, if I were to explain it. There's a lot more leeway, and it's way more enjoyable, I reckon. And what you end up doing is you do your work, you get on with what you have to do. You walk in, you know what you probably have to do for that lesson, before that lesson. So there's no mystery of wondering what's going to come up. And it's just, you continue with what you're doing every lesson. Support's always there. And there's no stress on what's going on because you will have the confidence of your own knowledge throughout the whole thing.
And so I guess you're describing that there's a lot of independent work where you're all doing completely different things. And so you really are taking responsibility for that. So there can be quite a lot of lessons where there's just build up in one lesson, and then the next lesson you just come in and get on with it. Fintan, so that's what a lot of the practical lessons are like. Do you want to just add anything about a theory lesson?
Yeah, I mean, so generally you'll come in at the beginning of the lesson, there'll be a brief introduction on whether it's going to be a theory or a practical lesson. And then if it's a theory lesson, normally you'll split into DT or textiles, at which point you'll quite often have a different teacher, or they'll divide up the time and each group will work on different things. And then in a practical lesson, as Dilshad said, you'll have an introduction in which often they'll say if there's any updates on the time scale, what everyone needs to be up to at any point, checking everyone's progress, and then you basically have sort of 45-50 minutes to work independently with teachers coming and checking on your progress.
Thank you. So the next question, both of you have kind of already answered a bit about what you find interesting in DT. So if there's anything you want to add to that, and maybe perhaps give specific examples of topics that you enjoy.
Fintan, would you like to go first this time?
I think what makes the subject interesting to me is just my general interest in fashion. I think that's going to be the most helpful thing you could possibly have coming into textiles, is if you begin to read and establish your own sort of knowledge base and interest in the topic. I think my favorite topics, I think I like most of the subject, to be honest. I think I particularly enjoy reading about fashion history because that's something I do often in my own time as well. And I think what makes the subject in general special is probably the level of practical work, which is quite uncommon in current subjects, with most subjects being focused on exams.
Dilshad, a particular topic that you like, or just give an example of any of them?
Well, so I think for me, favorite topics, I would just say product design, frankly, because what I like about product design is that you do something physical. In other subjects, everything's more theoretical. Maybe in science, you'll do some practicals and then just write down the information. But that's probably the most you'll get. However, when it comes to DT, you come out at the end and you visually see what you had built up towards, and that usually ends up with a product. And these products aren't just any product that you just did for no reason. There's a special reason why you did it, and the reasons are what makes it more of a proud moment for you. And well, I've always liked doing stuff where it's building, drawing, sketching, anything to do with design or mechanics, and luckily product design gives me all that in one.
So are you saying feedback? If you want to just mute both of you. Are you saying that your favourite area is really the project work and the NEA, and getting that problem solving practical work done?
Yes, that is the main thing I like. But I also like the theory because you do learn how to build and make stuff even better with the theory, because the theory often teaches you. So, for example, unlock your iPhone first. Oh, my Siri went off. Sorry. But yeah. So the thing that I like about theory is you can make a product, but the one thing you'll learn from it is how to refine it. So, for example, adding finishes or adding any chemicals to improve it aesthetically, enhance it, or anything like that. And that, I think, is very important to your A level.
Fantastic. So we're on the last question. So thank you for that detail. do you have any plans yet for what you're going to go on to do? Or is there anything that you have thought about what students typically study after? I can mention a bit more about that if you're not sure. Has the course impacted on your plans? So just anything about next steps, really. Vincent, do you want to answer first? Because I know that you've done a lot. Sorry, Dushed. I know you've done a lot of thinking about.
So what do students typically study after the subject? So I think it's very common to come out of A-level fashion textiles and to pursue a further course at university. I think that's a very common route. I've never really wanted to do further studies beyond A-levels as much as I've enjoyed it. I've always wanted to go into industry because I feel I've always learned better by working. And I have a career lined up in that from part-time work that I've done throughout my A-levels and the end of my GCSEs during summer. So that's what I'm planning to do. I think the course hasn't changed my plans. I think it might have just sort of pushed me further in that direction in terms of wanting to work in this field.
Thank you. Dilshad, have you thought about the next steps?
Oh yeah. So a lot of the driving force to why I picked the subject, despite it being my favorite subject out of all of them, is that it's a main subject that you have to do in order to do what I want to do in university, which is pursue architecture or maybe do it as an apprenticeship. I've always been intrigued in architecture. It just mixes everything about me together, and there's nothing. I don't feel like there's a subject that you can do at A levels that can teach you as much about architecture or engineering as product design. And if you're someone that's interested in anything to do with engineering or design or anything that requires you to basically have fun and think outside the box, then product design is definitely an A level you should consider.
Thank you. And so I just would like to add that we've got people studying industrial design at Brunel University Product Design, but it's really helpful with engineering and applying for apprenticeships. And as Fintan said, both of these courses are really good at helping you plan for work placements because you're organising, you're working independently, you're thinking for yourself. And these are skills that are highly sought after in jobs and in industry. And it gives you lots of opportunities to write about things beyond the curriculum in your application for university. Currently, we have somebody at Leeds University who's doing textiles design there. Some people go more the art route. We've got someone going a bit more arty who's applying this year to university. But textiles can be very much close to engineering as well, and we can have much more industrial type routes for textiles, which is a big, vast and growing industry. If you think about Formula One cars, for example, use textiles as they are made. So please get in touch, ask questions. We really invite you to find out a lot more about the subject. I enjoy teaching it. I know many students have very much enjoyed the course. So we're looking forward to hearing from you and hope you get to start with us in September. Thank you very much. Thank you.